Hi, this is Rabbi Tzvi Mandel of Congregation Calvin Yisrael, Community of Jewish Friends, and it's a delight to be here tonight again on a Tuesday night. Pashas Va'era, this coming Shabbos we're going to read the Pasha of Va'era, which is the second portion in the book of Shmais, second book of the 5 books of Moshe. And tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Thursday, will be Rosh Chodesh Shvat. We spoke about that already a little bit. I would like to read you from the Sefer Tzion V'Areha, which speaks about the Holy Land. Tzion is our home and her cities. And it speaks, this is a compilation of Chassidish Torah and from Chazal and Halacha, all about interesting things about Eretz Yisrael, our home. And he says as follows, that the Kedushas Levi, the Holy Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchever in Parshas Bereshis, quotes Rashi in the beginning of Chumash, the first Rashi. Rashi, in fact, Rashi's first Torah on Chumash is in the name of his father, Rabbi Yitzchak. And he wanted to honor his father, so his Torah came first. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says, the Torah should have started with the first mitzvah, which is HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Hashem says, this month is yours, the month of Nisan, which has the holiday of Pesach, the holiday of Pesach. So why did the Torah, Hashem start the Torah with Bereshis, which speaks about Hashem creating the world? So Rashi says, because there's a verse in Tehillim, in Psalms 111, that says, Koyach masav heged liyamoy losas lehem nachlas goyim. Hashem's strength of his actions, of what he does, he gives over to his people, to us, in order to give them the inheritance of the nations of the world. Rashi explains this to mean that if the nations of the world would come and say, you're all a bunch of robbers, you stole away the land of the Knani, so we answer to them that Hashem created the world, and he gives it to whoever he wants, and if they're not deserving of it, he takes it away from them and give it to who is deserving of it. That's our answer to them. Says Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchever v'nira l'farish. I would like to explain it as follows, and all the words of Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchever were straight from heaven. Dehine ba'iraisa bara HaKadosh Baruch Hu Alma. The Zohar HaKadosh in the second volume, 161, says that Hashem created the world with the Torah. And everything that there is in the world has letters of the Torah and the holy sparks that clothe them. A human being has 248 limbs, and connected that to represent that in the Torah, there are 248 positive commandments. There are 365, what are they called? Gidim? Gidim are parts of the body that's, I have to think what the word is. And for that, there's 365 mitzvahs that we shouldn't do. Negative things. That's in the Zohar HaKadosh in the first volume, 170. Now, these are the lives, spiritual lives of the limbs and the veins, the Gidim. The land, the Holy Land, also has, or the land in general, has 248 Avarim, limbs. Just as we find in the verses, it says Levar, it's the heart of the land, the mouth, Piyar, it's Ayin Haaretz in Bamidbar 16:32, and in 22:11. Also, the Medrash says that these limbs, so to say, are the life, the spiritual life of the mitzvahs. So when a person does a mitzvah, Hashem's will, then the land is his, because everything's connected. Therefore, when Yeshua took over the 7 nations' land, which was Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, he knew the life and the spiritual connection between each city and the mitzvah that's connected with it, which will give it its spiritual life. That's how he took over Eretz Yisrael. Now, so back to the first Rashi, and we'll end with this, and we'll go to Kitzer. Rabbi Yitzchak says that this is the reason why the Torah begins with Bereshis, Hashem's creation of the world, because Koyach Masa v'Higeli Amai, the strength of everything and the life of everything, which is the mitzvahs, is what Hashem gave to us when He gave us the Holy Torah and the Holy Land. So if the nations of the world, these 7 Knani and all the rest of the 7 nations that lived in Israel before us, will say, you stole the land from us, so we answer to them, the whole world belongs to the Holy One, blessed be He. He created the world, and He gave it to whoever is Yashar Be'enov, whoever it's straight in his way of thinking. That's what we gave it to. And the Jewish people who do the mitzvahs, they give the life to every one of these places and every land and every country. And therefore, the land belongs to them. And the Holy Baditcheva ends with V'halavai she'Hashem Yisbarach yitin lanu leiv tahar leida hamitzvah shel kol dava v'dava amen. I pray that Hashem should give us the understanding, the deeper understanding, the spiritual understanding of everything that we do. After Holy Baditcheva said that, what should we say? The answer is Hashem needs all of us. Hashem loves all of us, needs all of us, the greatest tzaddik and the person who thinks he's the lowest person, which there's no such thing, but let's say there is. Hashem needs every single one of us. He needs each one of our davening, our mitzvahs. He needs each one of our learnings, and there's no one extra or unimportant. And Hashem is missing the one that doesn't pray or doesn't do a mitzvah, just like He's missing the davening or the mitzvah or the learning of the greatest Reb Shimon Bar Yochai or the Baal Shem Tov. We're all special in the eyes of the Creator, who is the source of everything in the world. Okay, we will go to the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch. Tonight we start new laws. Chapter 9, the laws of tzitzis. I was debating if I should learn this, but we'll see. Maybe we'll skip certain parts. This is really for men. Only men wear tzitzis. And chapter 9, the laws of tzitzis, has 21 paragraphs. The first one will speak about the importance of the mitzvah, the size and the quality of the garment and the strings. Number 2 will speak about linen garment. Number 3 and 4, it says in the Torah, the verse in the Torah says, on the corner, al kanfei rigdeim. Say it every day in Shema. Number 5 and 6 speaks about preparing the tzitzis tassel. Number 7 and 8 speaks about donning the talus. Number 9 speaks about the blessing. Number 10, the interruption in the mitzvah. 11, borrowing a talus. 12, material of the garment. 13, severed strings. 14, twisted strings. 15, a divided talus garment. 16 and 17, laws of the corner of the garment. 18, 19, repairing and discarding tzitzis. 20, human dignity. 21, care in performing of the mitzvah. I guess we'll just go through the first paragraph today, since there's a lot of comment on it, and we'll see what the other commentaries say also. Okay, there's an introduction. The Torah commands in Bamidbar 15, verse 38, that when wearing a garment that has four corners, one must affix tzitzis, tassel-like fringes, to the corners of the garment. They shall make themselves fringes on the corners of the garments. Each of the tzitzis tassels is made up of 4 strings that are inserted into the corners of the garment and then knotted and twisted in a specific manner to form a braided tassel. Number 1, paragraph 1. How great is the commandment of tzitzis! The reward for its observance and the punishment for its neglect are very great. This is according to the Mashah in Menachos 43b, Tractate Menachos. Okay, this is evident, for the Torah equates this commandment and also connects it to all of the commandments of the Torah combined, as the verse in Bamidbar 15 states, and you shall see it, the tzitzis, and you shall remember all the commandments of Hashem and perform them. Seeing the tzitzis reminds one of the commandments, because the numerical value of the word tzitzis alludes to the 613 commandments as follows. The letters of the word tzitzis have the numerical value of 600. When spelled fully with both yuds, tzaddik is 90, yud is 10, tzaddik again is 90, yud again is 10, which equals 400. Which equals 400. Where am I holding over here? Number 2. Right. The Tur Shulchan Aruch uses a different calculation to arrive at a value of 600. See it inside the Torah. We won't go into that now. Now, add to that the 8 strings that hang down from the knots of each tassel and the 5 knots tied in each tassel. This adds up to a total of 613, the total number of commandments in the Torah. This follows Rashi and Bamidbar over there for another explanation of the reminder of the mitzvahs. See Ramban over there. Okay, we'll continue. Because the tzitzis are worn to remind the person of all the commandments, therefore every man must take care to have a talis katan. Literally, talis katan means a small cloak or garment. This refers to the smaller tzitzis garment that is customarily worn throughout the day. This is in contrast to the larger tzitzis garment, or talis gadol, as it's called, literally large cloak, worn during the morning prayer. We'll continue. That he should wear during the entire day. The Torah does not obligate one to wear a 4-cornered garment with tzitzis. The commandment is only that if one wears a 4-cornered garment, tzitzis must be affixed to it. We wear a garment with tzitzis all the time because of the great need to remember all the commandments. So says the Torah in Aruch 24. Nowadays, since this has become a Jewish custom, one is obliged to wear a 4-cornered garment with tzitzis. So says the Igros Moshe in Aruch, the 4th volume. Right, chapter 4. So that's how Rav Feinstein says that. Today, we must wear it. It used to be that you're a nice guy if you do it, not a volunteer mitzvah, right? But today, already, it's an obligation. Okay, we'll go further. The following is a description of the ideal features of the talis katan. It should be made of the wool of sheep. It's a special mitzvah to wear a talis katan made only of sheep's wool, whose tzitzis are also made of wool, even during the hot summer. One who does not One who does so will merit heavenly blessing. This is also by Rav Feinstein and Nigas Moshe, Aruch, first volume, second chapter, third volume, first chapter, fifth volume, 20 and 25. Other materials may be used as well, as discussed later on, but using sheep's wool is preferable, and see Mishnah Berurah 9.2. According to Rav Feinstein, garments made entirely of synthetic materials are not required to have tzitzis. This is Nigas Moshe, Aruch, second volume, and the fifth volume, 20 and 25. Okay. So, it should be white. It should be white. The Ashkenazi custom is to use white threads for the tzitzis fringes, since there are authorities who hold that the main color of the garment and that of the fringes should be identical. The talus garment should also be white. It is also customary to have a dark stripe on the talus as a remembrance of the techelis color that used to be a part of the tzitzis. This is brought down in Mishnah Berurah 9:16 and Eliyahu Rabbah 9:5. The biblical mitzvah of tzitzis dictates that one or two of the strings be techelis, wool dyed a bluish color with the dye made from the secretion of a sea creature called the chalazon. Today, as the identity of the chalazon is not known to us, our tzitzis consist of only white threads. In recent times, several possible identifications of the chalazon have been suggested by some authorities. They therefore maintain that the chelas produced from the newly discovered dyes should be worn. For a comprehensive discussion of the various positions, see the appendix to volume 2 of the Schottenstein edition of Tractate Menachos. There was a great Chassidish Rebbe, the Radziner Rebbe, the Baal Tcheles, and he claimed to find Tcheles when all over Europe and all the great leaders from all corners of Europe consented to him, but they didn't want to start wearing the tcheles because they didn't have the Kabbalah. Their Zaydis, their ancestors, didn't wear these things, so they didn't want to start. But Radziner Chassidim do wear it. And then there was another great rabbi, the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Herzog, who was also a very great tzaddik and a great Talmid Chacham, great Torah scholar, who saved multitudes of people, among them some of the greatest rebbes, like the Belzer Rebbe, or Baruch Belzer, from the wicked Nazis. So this great rabbi found a different chalazon that he held, that his view was that should be chalazon. So people who follow him wear that kind of chalazon. Those are basically the two groups that wear tcheles today. Of recent, I heard from some great Torah scholars that there's already new chalazons to be found. So that's that. But generally, people don't wear it, who don't have this Kabbalah, don't have an ancestry. The Zaydis didn't wear these things. And again, in Yiddishkeit, everything has to do with who you are, who's your teacher, who's your Rebbe, and who's your Rebbe, and that's who you follow. And also you follow your father's customs, or grandfather, or whatever it might be. Okay, we will go back to the first paragraph. 9, 8. Okay. And as large as the required measurement, that is, 3/4 of an amma long and half an amma wide. Some say amma al amma, that it must be 1 amma long by 1 amma wide. We'll explain this. A garment requires tzitzis if it is large enough to cover the head and most of the body of an average 9-year-old boy. This is Mishnah Berurah 16:1, and see also Shulchan Aruch 16:1. That is, it is 3/4 of an amma between 14.2 and 17.1 inches in front of him, and 3/4 of an amma behind him. The hole for the neck does not count toward this measurement. Mishnah Berurah 8:17. Now, a length of 1 amma between 18.9 and 22.7 inches in front of him, and 1 amma behind him, and a width of 1 amma, Mishnah Berurah 16:4 writes that it is proper for one to have a talus cotton that conforms to the larger measurement, which is what we just mentioned, 18.9 or 22.7 inches, the length of it in front of him, and that's the preferred way. Okay, those who make the talus cotton sewn up at the sides, in other words, they sew the front and back panels of the tzitzis garment together at the sides, creating a vest-like garment, must be careful that it should be open on each side by a discernible majority of the length of the garment. If the majority of the side is closed, the entire side is considered to be closed. This eliminates the corners at the bottom of the garment, and such a garment is not obliged in tzitzis, as it does not have 4 corners. Okay, so this deems it a closed like a vest, and whatever, and then you can't put tzitzis on it because it's not required to have tzitzis. And the sides may not even be closed with hooks. Mishnah Berurah in 10:29. Okay. In addition, every person should take care to have a talus gadol with tzitzis, literally a large cloak or garment. This is referred to hereafter simply as a talus. Okay, that will be called a talus. This will be called a talus cotton. Now we need that in which to wrap ourselves during the morning service. One should endeavor to beautify the mitzvah by having a beautiful talus. Indeed, this is also true with regard to all the commandments, such as Sukkah, Lulav, Shofar, Sefer Torah, Shabbos 133b. One must fulfill them in the most beautiful way possible, for it is written in the Torah, "This is my God, and I will beautify him." Zakeli Banveyu. This is in Shemos 15. And we interpret this homiletically in Tractate Shabbos 133b to mean, beautiful yourself before Hashem in the fulfillment of the mitzvahs, of the commandments. Through the enhanced performance of the mitzvahs, one makes himself beautiful before Hashem. One should be careful to buy the tzitzis strings from a trustworthy person, so he can be sure that they were prepared with regard to the spinning and twisting of the thread explicitly for the sake of the mitzvah. Okay. Spinning is the process of twisting the fibers of the wool to produce thread. After spinning, each thread is doubled over and then twisted together, which is in Mishnah Berurah 11:14. Before starting to work, the person doing the spinning and twisting must declare that he is preparing the thread specifically to be used for the mitzvah of tzitzis. That's in Shulchan 11:1. Specifically for the sake of the tzitzis and in accordance with the laws of making tzitzis. The tzitzis strings must also be the proper length. Okay, we will stop here. Meanwhile, let's see what others say about this Kitzer. Now the Rav Shulchan Aruch says that the length from the neck and down should be 1 amma, in front and in back, and the width also in amma, as we mentioned the sizes. And someone, a child between the ages of 6 and 13, one could be a little more lenient. Okay. On the sides, the Shulchan Aruch says it should be open all together. Okay. Nine. Berhativ quotes the Maril. And explains why only a married person wears the talis gadol that was mentioned, and we won't go into that now. Berhativ also says, in the name of the Radvaz, that's prohibited to sew verses of the Torah on the talis. That's wrong. Some people do that. It's wrong. And the Shari Tshuva says that when one sits down, he should pick up his talis. He shouldn't be sitting on it. Berhaita brings down that in chapter 8, that the custom is to make an atara, a sign on the top of the talis, so that one should put on this side on top always, and not sometimes this part and sometimes the bottom part up. However, the Arizal says that one doesn't have to worry about that, and the Levush says that it's better not to make an atara, a sign of where's the front and where's the back, where's the top, where's the bottom, because if one does have an atara, it looks like it was mainly made just for an article of clothes. And the Teretz Kenim also says that. So the Shiar Mitzvah Malacha says that he heard that that's why some of the Talis Gadol, the Talis Gedolim, have another sort of like an atara across the back, something showing so that we know which is the back and which is the front, and which is the bottom. Now, the Maramash in his Chuvas, in his response to the first chapter, says that tzitzis that are made through machines and non-Jews work there, and a Jew is standing on top of him and telling him what to do, and they say the Shem tzitzis, we're doing it for the sake of tzitzis, they're not good, they're not kosher. However, the Machzah Avram, Rav Sternberg, in Aruch, the third volume, says that with the machine it's not kosher anyway. And others say it's permitted. The Chesed Avram, Madur Tanina, Sim Yadzayin, and Tiferes Yosef in the first chapter in Aruch say that as long as it was started by a human being, it's good enough. And even the Achiezeh in the third volume, at the end of the 69th chapter, says that if it was done with the kavanah l'shma for the sake of mitzvah tzitzis, there are views that it might be okay. The Shas HaTshuvas of Rechaim in the third chapter, Heilig Reb Chaim Tzanza, is against the whole story with the machines, because a number of things could make it completely puzzled, completely invalid. Now, Mishnah Berurah in chapter 14 says that the kavanah of lishma, that one must make the tzitzis for the sake of Hashem's mitzvah with great joy, this has to be said with his lips. It's not just enough in the mind. However, the Netziv, in the response of Meshav Dover, the 3rd chapter, says no, it's good enough when it's just done in the mind. And we shall stop here for tonight. Have a great night.